Welcome everyone back to Rads. It's the first video in a little while. We're back talking. That tends to help when you do YouTube. You tend to talk probably too much. There'll be a video in more depth later this week, so not long. Stay tuned on transfers. A transfer roundup will be a thing basically every week throughout the transfer window, so to the end of August. So plenty of waffling and speculating, so stay tuned. Subscribe to Rads so you don't miss out. But in this video, let's go over the entire squad. There's 32 players. That's a lot of players that have come back that probably shouldn't be here. Some that are definitely up for debate, actually. And let's just talk about it. Whether they should stay at the club, leave the club, be loaned out. Before we get into it though, I just want to ask you a question, because that's how you find things out. Please, if you could let me know in the comments, everyone, what do you want to see from the channel this season? Because I would love to hear your input, because I've got my own ideas and stuff. I want to try and do a bit more on the spot sort of things, so more news stories that I maybe wouldn't have covered before. I like where we're at in terms of content, but I feel we can do better, you know? You've always got to try and look to improve, and I just want your input on what I should do on this channel going into this season, because sometimes I can be a bit indecisive. Who are the absolute nailed-on certs that you want to keep in this team this season? I think it's quite obvious in some areas. Nikola Milinkovic, I think, is probably the most obvious one in that category. Player of the season, brick wall, he ain't going anywhere. Who's the guy next to him? Alexa. Who plays next to Nikola Milinkovic in Nottingham Forest's defence?
Good morning, David. Near Nottingham, England today. Good one. The Ballad of Wallace Island.
Okay, stop talking, Alexa. Alexa, stop talking. It's Murillo. I didn't need to ask Alexa that. More likely to leave the club, of course, than Nikola, but definitely, undisputedly, you want to be keeping hold of him, don't you? I think Chris Wood is a nailed-on cert, obviously. That's not even a hot take, is it? He literally got us European football with all of his goals, and he's playing the best he's ever played in his career. I think Anthony Elanga is also a nailed-on cert. Been linked with a move away. We'll talk about that more later in the week and throughout the summer window, I'm sure. He was amazing last season as it went on. Started a bit rocky, but ended up being crucial in the end. So many goals and assists overall. And I think he could only get a lot better this season coming up. Who else is a dead nailed-on cert to stay at Forest? Nico Williams. My player of the season last season. I've always loved and rated Nico as a player. I just think he's so good. I think he can only get better, honestly. On the other side of defence, you've got Ola Aina, or Ola Aina. Still don't really know how you say it. I'm going to say Aina. When it comes to squad depth, though, you do definitely need to get somebody else to support Aina, because every game, I don't know whether anyone else has noticed this, I swear he's just like got his hands on his legs after like half an hour, just absolutely worn out. And that guy works extremely hard. And I just feel a bit sorry for him at times, because he has to play so many minutes, which I'm sure he's fine with. But it really does show a lot, doesn't it, that we don't have much squad depth in a lot of areas of this team, that you're having to play the same players so much. Another nailed-on cert, Matt Sells, of course, in the middle of our goal. That's all I can say. Definitely keep hold of Matt Sells. I think Elliot Anderson, I don't want to overload that top tier, but this team is a very, very good team. Obviously it needs work, but there's so many key cogs in this team. I don't think you can overload that top tier. I think there's a few more that go in that category. Oh yeah, Morgan Gibbs-White. How can I forget him? I definitely didn't forget him. Obviously being linked with a move away, but Man City seem to have died down their interest. They've already signed 3 players, so I think that's got to help our chances of keeping Morgan. And I think Callum Hudson-Odoi as well. Someone I definitely wouldn't want to see leave this summer. Crucial player in the end. Obviously had a few injuries last season. That, cutting inside shooting, when he pulls it off, it is just glorious. I think Nicolas Dominguez has got a strong case to be in this tier. I don't know about you. I think, honestly, look how many minutes he played last season. Unsung hero, went under the radar, and he just goes about his business. Now, there's a lot of other players here that can go in squad player, but for now, let's talk about Deadwood. I think this screams Emmanuel Dennis definitely doesn't have a future. Don't really know how he's still here. Not played a senior game for us since... Was it the first Premier League season? I think it actually was, wasn't it? Matt Turner had his moments, good and bad, more definitely bad. But Leon seemed to be doing us a favour once more. I think Lewis O'Brien, Josh Bowler. Lewis O'Brien I think is a quality player at that level, but certainly not as a European club. For his sake, he needs a permanent home, and I think that's also the case for Omar Richards, whether he should get a fresh start or not, because we've let go of Harry Toffolo, which is why he's not in this list, and same for Alex Moreno. We are very thin at fullback. I think at the start of pre-season, if we haven't signed a fullback, I think we might have to play Omar Richards in a couple of friendlies if we don't have fullbacks sorted out early on. So I think at the start of pre-season, there's a strong chance you see Omar Richards. Obviously, you have got Eric De Silva Moreira as well. I think we'll put him in loan, because I'm talking about fullback. For now, I'm going to say squad player purely because of the lack of fullbacks we've got, and maybe there's a player still worth pursuing in there. But I do think he'll probably still end up being sold. And probably the same with Andrea Omabaradelli. Great young player. I actually really rate him, but clearly doesn't fit into this Forest team and looks like he could be going back to Strasbourg already. Wayne Hennessy obviously came back to the club in January. I don't really think it matters either way whether we keep him or not, to be honest, but is he going to play? Could we trust him to play? Probably not. Marko Stamanik is another one. Again, no one really knows anything about him. Don't really think he did a great deal at Olympiacos, plays a lot for New Zealand. Yeah, I have really got minimal things to say about him, to be honest. Probably one that needs to go. And I think also, probably, Carlos Miguel. I don't really think that it's an issue if he does stay. Could just be a squad player again, but I wouldn't mind if we let him go. I wouldn't mind if we kept him, to be honest. But I do think there's a good chance we sign a third keeper, at least. So let's fill these middle categories up. Let's start with centre-backs, because my God, this is a fascinating subject. Who on earth is going to be our complete centre-back, team for next season? I don't know. Because you've got Murillo, you've got Milenkovic, they're dead certs, they're going to be here. Then you've got Morato, who I don't think is 100% keep, but I think he's a strong keep in my opinion. Started last season well, in fact most of the season was very solid, but had a very poor end to the season. Really not a good end to the season at all. If he starts next season, or even has a poor pre-season, then there's a strong case to say, okay, let him go. But I don't think we will. The fourth centre-back most of last season was Willy Bolly. We've offered him a new deal, so he could very well be staying. I wouldn't mind Bolly staying. I rate him. I don't think he's ever really put a foot wrong for us. Could he do any worse than Morato did at the end of last season? I don't think he could. But what the hell does it mean for David Carmo, for Tyler Binden, and for Zash Abbott? If Bolly stays, he's barely going to play a game and could end up just leaving later in the season. If Carmo comes in and we keep Morato, it could be quite a fine line as to who becomes third in line at centre-back, because he does appear to be quite a strong sort of centre-back option for us, played at Porto and Olympiacos. And then you've got the two youngsters. I want Abbott, honestly, to succeed and play a role at Forest in the future, because I want to see academy players come through. Plus also the homegrown rule comes into this as well. You've got to have 4 players in your squad that are homegrown, otherwise you lose those spots. So I don't think Abbott's going to be the one that gets even loaned. And then Tyler Binden looks to be a really promising young prospect and somebody I'm really excited to see play for Forest. If he's as good as Reading and New Zealand fans make out, he should be in this team. But based off Abbott's scenario and then the possible level of David Carmo, I could see Binden be the one that gets loaned. I'll be fascinated to hear what you have to say about that in the comments. Okay, so there's actually 2 more here that I think probably should be getting sold, and let's just do them now. I think Awani should be going, but I think because of his injury, I don't actually think we can let him go, if I'm honest. So I don't see how he can leave. Who's going to sign a player who I don't know when it's going to see him. It could be a long time if he's had urgent surgery. I just don't know how you can see him play. Danilo could help us when it comes to PSR. I don't really know why we're not in PSR trouble again, but it looks like one we've kind of got to sell to balance the books again. And with Ibrahim Sangara's situation, I think you probably are going to have to see Danilo go. And if you sign another midfielder as well, I don't know how Danilo fits into this team anymore. Sangara could become somebody who is in this category, but I cannot be convinced enough to say that he should be in 100% keep. I'd be devastated if he left, but I would be a lot more liable to say keep hold of him, without a doubt. And let's talk about Yatesy. Obviously keep hold of him. I'm not just doing it to be sentimental. I just think you're stupid if you want to let go of Yates, in my opinion. Not to be rude, but he is the heartbeat of this team still in terms of it being pure passion and Forest and what he offers to this team. And he steps up at every single level. So don't ever doubt Ryan Yates. And then we got the two wingers. Of course, Jota and Sosa last season were definitely more depth players behind Elanga and Hudson-Odoi. Jota had more of a nod over Sosa, and we saw a fair bit of him and had some great moments, scored some good goals for us, and a player that I like, and I like his direct style of play, but I do also see why people say he's not good enough because of his maybe lightweight sort of approach to things. So I would not be surprised if he was sold at all, but I'd like to keep Jota. And then when it comes to Sosa, again, I wouldn't mind to see him play more, but I just don't see how he has a future. So I wouldn't mind him staying, but we can't keep both of these. We need to upgrade one of them, and I think it's going to be Sosa. So whether you loan Sosa out or you sell him back to South America, I think it's up for debate. I think it's probably selling is probably better, but I'm going to say loan. Plus it also fills that category up a bit more. So yeah, that is the squad, everyone. What do you think of it? Do you agree with what I'm saying? Do you think I'm talking rubbish? If you do, then please respectfully let me know in the comments what you'd change about it. There's a lot of debate in there, you know, those centre backs, for example. Fascinating to say who should stay and go in that department. So yeah, let me know in the comments, everyone, your thoughts on this video. Let me know what you want to see on Rads this season. As I said at the start of it, I really would appreciate your input if you've got any. And yeah, good to be back on YouTube, everyone, uploading videos. And there'll be plenty of stuff coming up over pre-season. And of course, going into our first European season in 30 years. Can't believe I just said that. Thanks for watching, everyone, and up the Reds.